Welcome to Saxon Math Course 3. This video is for Lesson 7, Rates and Average, and also Measures of Central Tendency. Our objectives for today are, after this lesson you should be able to form rates and unit rates given two measures, solve rate problems by multiplying by a unit rate, find the average of a set of numbers, and determine the best measure of central tendency to use to represent a set of data. Some review from our last video. Here are your U.S. customary and metric measures. We talked about them in the last lesson. That's also available in your book in Lesson 6, so if you need to ever take a peek at it, that's where you can find it. You should do your best to memorize those units and conversions. It's going to make your life a lot easier in math if you just automatically know, for example, how many ounces are in a pint. 16 ounces in a pint. If you can just remember that, it will be much easier. Remember, when we go from a larger unit to a smaller unit, we multiply. Smaller unit to a larger unit, we divide. Today we're going to talk about a rate, which is a division relationship between two measurements. It's called a unit rate when the number of the second measure is 1. Usually your time is going to be 1. So for example, we have miles per hour. That's a unit rate. How many miles can you go in 1 hour? Miles per gallon. How many miles can your car drive with 1 gallon of gas? Feet per second. That's another speed one, same as miles per hour. Each unit rate follows the same pattern to help solve problems. You have the number of hours times the miles per hour equals number of miles, or you have the number of gallons times miles per gallon equals number of miles, or you have the number of seconds times feet per second equals your number of feet. And you would use those patterns to solve word problems. We'll have some examples coming up here. So here's our first example. Driving at an average speed of 85 miles per hour, how far will the driver travel in 6 hours? So we're going to put that pattern up again. 6 is our number of hours, 85 is our miles per hour, and we want to know the number of miles. So we're going to multiply for this one. 85 times 6, we would find out that the driver could go 330 miles in 6 hours. Second example, traveling at an average rate of 58 miles per hour, how long would it take a car to travel 20 miles? So notice the about word. The word about right here tells us that we're estimating. So we're going to take our non-rounded number, 58, and we're going to round that to 60 to make this problem easier. So let's put those numbers in the pattern. We don't know the number of hours. That's what we're asking for, how much time it would take. We know we're going about 60 miles per hour, and we want to travel 20 miles per hour. So remember, anytime you're missing a number in multiplication, you're going to divide. So we're going to do 20 divided by 60. Really, that's a fraction, 20 over 60, and we would reduce that to 1/3. So it would take 1/3 of an hour. And to be a little more clear, we're going to change that 1/3 of an hour into minutes. Since we know there are 60 minutes in an hour, then we'll just take 1/3 of 60, which is 20, so it would take about 20 minutes to go 20 miles. And that makes sense because if you're going 60 miles per hour, you are going about 1 mile per minute. So there's that too. Now let's talk a little bit about average. Average, which we also call the mean, is known as a measure of central tendency. We use measures of central tendency to analyze data and see how things are related. So to find the average or mean, we add all the numbers together and then divide that sum by the number of groups that we started with. Here's an example. Keeler School's got 4 8th grade classrooms. They each have this many students, 28. One classroom has 28 students, next has 29, third has 31, and the fourth has 32. So we want to know the average number of students in each classroom. So first we add up all the classrooms, we get 120. And then since we had 4 classrooms, we divide that 120 by 4 and we find out there's an average of 30 students in each classroom. There are other measures of central tendency besides mean. We have the median, which is found by placing the numbers in order from least to greatest, and then you have to pick out the middle number. So this part is important. You have to order them least to greatest before you pick out the middle number. Otherwise, your number you find might not be your median. If the list has an even number of numbers in the list, so say there are 8 numbers in the list, you have to take the 2 middle numbers, because you're going to have 2 middle numbers if you have an even number in a list, and you find the average of the 2. So you just add them together and divide by 2. Another measure of central tendency is the mode. That's the most frequently occurring number in a list. So if you have a list and there are 4 4s on the list, and that's the most times a number shows up, then your mode would be 4. There can be more than one mode. So if 2 different numbers occur multiple times, the same number of times, then they would both be the mode. And there can also be no mode if no number shows up more than once. And then we also have the range. You find the range by taking the smallest number away from the largest number. So largest number minus smallest number on the list equals your range. And how you use these numbers would depend on what you're trying to figure out. If you want to know, say, in our class, we want to know on average, we want to know how well everyone did on a certain test. So for that one, we'd probably want to use our average, because we want to know, well, what's the average score everyone got on the test. You could use your range to figure out how far apart the highest and lowest scores were. Mode would be a good one. If most kids got, a 65 on the test, that wouldn't be a very good score. So you can use these numbers for different things. That's all for today. Make sure you work through your practice problems. Post any questions you have to the discussion section. We'll talk about them in class, and we'll see you on the next video.